My name is Jean. Standing in the bustling Sweet Dawn Bakery on its one-year anniversary, I never thought I'd be facing the very family that had long taken me for granted. The air was thick with tension as my mother, father, and sister, Isabella, walked in. The chatter in the bakery hushed, and I felt a knot form in my stomach. My mother, a woman always concerned about appearances, straightened her shoulders and marched towards me. "Jean, we need to talk about family," she declared, her voice cutting through the silence. Helen, my kind and caring mother-in-law, moved closer to me, offering her silent support. Robert, my father-in-law, put down his champagne flute, and my husband, Ethan, appeared at my side. I took a deep breath and said, "Okay, Mom, let's talk about family." I reached below the counter and retrieved the folder I'd prepared. It contained 8 years of bank statements, documenting every single transfer I'd made to my parents. I opened the folder and spread the pages across the counter. "These are bank statements, Mom. For 8 years, I've been sending you $2,500 every month, sometimes more during emergencies. Isabella's wedding cost me $10,000 from my savings. Dad's so-called surgery was actually a golf trip, which cost me $8,000. And on my wedding day, June 15th, you didn't even show up because it was Isabella's birthday party, even though her real birthday was 2 days later. You didn't send a transfer, a gift, or a card. After $247,500, I couldn't even buy your presents for one afternoon." My mother's face went pale, and Isabella's mouth fell open. My father stared at the documents in disbelief. Isabella sputtered, "You're making this about money when it's about love." I looked at her and asked, "Is it? Then tell me, Isabella, when was the last time you called me just to talk? Not to ask for something? Just to see how I was doing?" The silence that followed was deafening. I placed my hand on my stomach, where our baby was growing. "I'm pregnant," I said. "And my child will never have to wonder if their grandmother loves them, because they'll have one who does. Helen is right here, and she's shown me more love and support than you ever have." My mother's voice cracked as she said, "Jean, you can't do this. People are watching. You're embarrassing us." I shook my head and replied, "No, Mom. You embarrassed yourself the day you chose a birthday party over your daughter's wedding. I'm just uncovering the truth." I gathered the bank statements and put them back in the folder. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my bakery. You're going to stop calling, stop texting, and stop showing up at my business demanding money. I'm going to continue living my life with my husband, my in-laws, and my baby." Just then Mrs. Patterson, a regular customer and a kind soul, stood up. "I've been coming to this bakery every Saturday for a year," she said, addressing my mother directly. "Jean remembers my husband's name, asks about his treatments, and saves his favorite muffin even when it sells out. Last month, when I couldn't afford a birthday cake for my grandson, she made one anyway and wouldn't let me pay. That woman gave you $250,000, and you couldn't even show up to her wedding. You should be ashamed." A murmur rippled through the bakery, and heads nodded in agreement. My mother's composure crumbled, and she grabbed my father's arm. "Let's go, Gerald. We don't need to be humiliated by strangers," she said. Isabella hesitated for a moment, looking at me with a confused expression, then followed them out the door. As the door closed behind them, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Helen wrapped her arms around me, and Ethan kissed my temple. The celebration continued, but I couldn't help but reflect on how I'd gotten to this point. I grew up in a small town in Vermont. Our family lived in a modest 2-story house, but my mother always made sure to show off our well-kept garden to the neighbors. Isabella, for years younger than me, was the apple of my parents' eye. She got the bigger bedroom with a view of the garden, while I had a small room under the stairs. From a young age, I knew I was different. Isabella was beautiful, popular, and had a natural charm. I, on the other hand, was more reserved and focused on my studies. By the time I was 13, I started working part-time at a local diner to earn money for my school supplies. Isabella never had to lift a finger. My parents bought her new clothes, the latest gadgets, and whatever else she wanted. I wore hand-me-downs and learned to make the most of what I had. When I turned 16, I saved up for a used car. It was an old Ford Focus with a dented fender and a temperamental engine, but I was so proud of it. It represented my hard work and independence. 2 years later, when Isabella graduated high school, my parents surprised her with a brand new BMW. She deserves it, my mother said. She worked so hard in school. Isabella had a 2.6 GPA, while I graduated with a 3.8, all while working part-time. After high school, I attended a community college and earned a degree in culinary arts. I landed a job as a line cook at a local restaurant, and for the first time in my life, I had a steady paycheck. But then, the requests for money started. One day, my mother called me in tears. "Jean, it's an emergency. Your father lost his job, and we can't make the mortgage this month. We need $3,000. I didn't have $3,000, but I had a credit card with a $5,000 limit. I thought, this is my family. I have to help them. So, I maxed out my credit card and wired the money. Over the next few months, I ate ramen noodles for every meal and worked extra shifts to pay off the credit card. Meanwhile, my parents went on a vacation and posted pictures on social media. I told myself it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't. The requests for money kept coming, and I kept giving. For years later, I met Ethan at a friend's party. He was a software engineer, quiet and thoughtful. He listened to me when I talked and saw me for who I was, not just for what I could give. 3 months into our relationship, he noticed the large monthly transfers to my parents. "Jean, why do you send so much money to your parents every month?" he asked. I froze. No one had ever asked me that before. "Because if I don't, I'm a bad daughter," I replied. Ethan sat down his coffee cup and looked at me with his kind brown eyes. "No judgment, just concern. What if we tracked it? Every dollar you've sent them since you started working, just so you know exactly where you stand." That night, we built a spreadsheet together. The numbers were staggering. I realized that I'd been giving away my hard-earned money for years, and in return, I'd received nothing but neglect. I'd always dreamed of opening my own bakery. It started with my grandmother, my mother's mother. Grandma Rose lived in a small cottage in the countryside. Her kitchen always smelled like freshly baked bread and cinnamon. She taught me how to make her famous cinnamon rolls from scratch, and I fell in love with baking. When she passed away, she left me her recipes and a locket that I still wear every day. By the time I was 28, I'd started taking custom cake orders on the side. I saved every penny I could, dreaming of a small storefront with my name on the door. When I finally told my mother about my plans, she laughed. "A bakery? Jean, be realistic. Do you know how many small businesses fail in the first year? You have a stable job. Why would you throw that away?" Isabella chimed in. "Are you seriously going to sell cupcakes for a living? That's so boring." But I didn't let their words discourage me. I kept saving, and with the help of Ethan and his parents, I found a small storefront on Main Street. We named it Sweet Dawn Bakery, a name that came to me in a dream. Ethan proposed to me on a beautiful summer evening in the garden where my grandmother used to grow herbs. He had taken the sapphire from my grandmother's locket and had it reset into a stunning engagement ring. I said yes without hesitation. That night, I called my mother to share the news. "Engaged? To the computer guy? What does his family do? Are they well off?" she asked. I felt my excitement deflate. "Mom, I called to tell you I'm getting married, not to discuss finances. Ethan's parents are wonderful people, and they've been so supportive of me." My mother paused for a moment and then said, "Well, at least he has a stable job. I suppose that's something." No congratulations, no tears of joy. 2 months before the wedding, I sent out save-the-date cards. When my mother received hers, she frowned. "June 15th? That's close to Isabella's birthday. She turns 26 on the 17th. We might have plans." Isabella also made it clear that she might not be able to make it because her boyfriend wanted to go on a trip that weekend. I called Ethan. My voice filled with disappointment. They didn't commit. They said they might have plans for my wedding. Ethan said gently, "Jean, maybe it's time to accept that your family isn't capable of being what you need them to be." But I refused to believe it. I kept hoping that they would come around. 3 weeks before the wedding, I was in a bridal shop, trying on my wedding dress. It was a beautiful ivory silk gown with delicate lace detailing. I was holding a white veil in my hands when my phone rang. It was my mother. "Jean, I need to tell you something. Your father and I won't be able to make it to the wedding. It's Isabella's birthday weekend, and her boyfriend is throwing her an early party on the 15th. We can't miss it." I felt like the world had stopped spinning. "Mom, her birthday is the 17th, and I'm getting married on the 15th. You're choosing her birthday party over my wedding." My mother replied, "Jean, your sister only has one birthday a year. You could have picked a different date. You've always been so independent. You'll be fine." The call lasted only 47 seconds, but it shattered every illusion I'd ever had about my family. I hung up the phone and looked at myself in the mirror, a bride with no family to witness her vows. But instead of crying, I made a decision. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and canceled the recurring monthly transfer of $2,500 to my parents. On June 15th, I married the love of my life in the backyard of Ethan's parents' home. It was a beautiful day, filled with love and joy. Our friends and family, including Aunt Carol, my mother's younger sister who had always been kind to me, came to celebrate with us. Helen helped me into my dress and adjusted my veil, and Robert walked me down the aisle. I baked my own wedding cake, using Grandma Rose's recipe. 2 weeks after our honeymoon, my mother called. "Jean, there must be some mistake with your bank. The transfer didn't come through this month." I took a deep breath and said, "There's no mistake, Mom. I stopped the transfers. I'm not sending money anymore." She was shocked. "You can't just stop. We depend on that money. Your father and I have bills." I replied, "I know you have bills. I've been paying them for 8 years. But you chose Isabella's birthday party over my wedding. After $247,500, I couldn't even get you to show up for one afternoon." My mother accused me of being vengeful, but I told her, "This isn't revenge. This is me finally taking care of my own family. Ethan and I are building a life together, and I can't keep subsidizing a family that treats me like an ATM." Over the next few months, my parents and Isabella tried to guilt-trip me. My father called and said, "Jean, your mother is heartbroken. You're breaking her heart." Isabella texted me, "How could you be so selfish? They raised you, and this is how you repay them." But I didn't respond. I knew that I was doing the right thing. 8 months passed, and Sweet Dawn Bakery was thriving. A local food blogger wrote a glowing review, and our business doubled. I hired 2 part-time employees, and we started a tradition of giving free cookies to kids who came in after school. Then one day, Aunt Carol called me. "Jean, you should know something. Your mother has been asking around the family for loans. Isabella made some bad investments, and they lost all their savings. They're 3 months behind on the mortgage, and the bank is threatening to foreclose." I felt a pang of sadness, but I also knew that I couldn't help them. I had my own family to take care of. A few days later, Isabella texted me, "Hey sis, can we talk? I know we haven't been close, but family is family, right? Maybe we could grab coffee." I knew what she wanted, but I decided to be honest. "I'm busy with the bakery. What do you need?" She replied, "Nothing specific. Just wanted to reconnect. Mom mentioned you're doing really well with the business. That's so great. Maybe you could help us figure out some financial stuff, too." I didn't reply. Instead, I prepared myself for the confrontation that was sure to come. And that's how I found myself standing in the bakery on its 1-year anniversary, facing my family. As I watched them leave, I knew that I'd finally broken free from the cycle of abuse and neglect. I had a new family now, one that loved and supported me. And I was ready to embrace the future with open arms. If you've ever been in a similar situation, I want you to know that you're not alone. It's okay to set boundaries and to choose your own happiness. Sometimes, the family you build is more real than the one you're born into. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it touched you, leave a heart in the comments or share your own experience. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this, and check the description for another video I think you'll appreciate. Remember, dawn comes after darkness.